Exactly ties into what we're talking about, continued squeezes in various types of commodities over the weekend. As you now know, it's been fuel. The largest U.S. fuel pipeline remains mostly shut after that ransomware cyber attack. Gets half of the supplies, basically half of the East Coast, and we'll be talking about the impact on fuel in the coming blocks. But in the meantime, the Commerce Secretary talked about all hands being on deck on the Sunday shows. Take a listen.
It's an all-hands-on-deck effort right now, and we are working closely with the company, state and local officials to, make sure that they get back up to normal operations as quickly as possible and there aren't disruptions in supply.
All right, Jim, so how close of an eye are you keeping on prices today? And I guess what does it say about concerns about future attacks, whether it's in energy or X-energy in the future?
Well, we've always heard that utilities were vulnerable. And this is a utility to some degree, and people are just saying that, but you've never seen it. Well, this is big. I mean, maybe this was a ransomware attack. We don't know. There's a lot of what do we know and what do we don't know going on here. Maybe it was a ransomware attack and they finally wouldn't pay, and we see a lot of companies pay the ransomware. David, they pay the ransomware.
They say it was a ransomware
Yeah,
attack.
but I'm saying that this finally was one that would hit their earnings.
Right.
They weren't going to pay.
I see. That the number that was being asked was so high that it would have been material.
Right, because I keep hearing about companies paying ransomware.
Well, typically, those who are holding these whatever assets hostage ask for a number that is kind of just right? Right. Not high enough to really crush you, but high enough that they'll make a lot of money.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Now, Charlie Munger talked about the idea that these cryptocurrencies basically are evil. Well, it's what you pay your ransomware in. Now, I haven't paid, but this is what I know.
Understood.
That's what I know.
The larger question continues to be, I think, Jim and Carl, if a Eastern European criminal gang has the capability to do this, what do our true adversaries in China and Russia actually have the ability to do?
Well, they have 1,000 people in the solar. There's apparently a room of 1,000 people, according to someone I'm involved with in
Russia. You're talking about solar winds.
Solar winds.
Not to mention
1,000 people.
Not to mention the incredibly well-organized Chinese cyber espionage effort that's been going on for a decade, more than a decade.
And the people I'm involved with keep saying the same thing. When will the United States play hardball?
And that continues to be a key question.
Right.
When will we hit back in some way? But my point is, if you can take control of a pipeline to this extent, and you're just a criminal gang in Eastern Europe, as is potentially alleged here, our true adversaries would have the ability, one would expect, to do whatever they want.
Right, and that's why you have to buy
electric
Conoco.
grid, with
that's
our
why you have to buy
pipelines.
Conoco, okay?
Why?
Because they're going to be able to jack their prices up, and they're probably not even involved that much with Colonial.
Yeah.
David, it's like the winter storm in Tyson. They mentioned that the winter storm was bad for them, but they're raising prices. Tyson.
But Carlos, the underlying commodity is not getting moving that much at this point. There seem to be enough.
Well, because there's
enough on hand, right? There is enough available in terms of gasoline. So, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. Just want to check with you before.
But it's another, Carl. It's just another commodity that people are going to say, well, Jay Powell, this or that. Like raising rates is going to suddenly open the Colonial Pipeline.
Right.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.